Hey, it's Making Life More Better podcast where we are empowering black men who grew up without a father to live a godly, purpose-driven life through faith, healing, and sharing our stories. And I am Maurice Walker, your host. I believe healing starts with forgiveness. For those of you that have been following the podcast, I've shared my story in regards to my father not being involved in my life and the different emotions that I went throughout my life because he wasn't involved in my life. Everything from hate to anger to disappointment, just a whole array of feelings throughout my life that I've gone through. But it wasn't until I got to the point of forgiveness, of truly forgiving my father for not being there in my life, for not teaching me how to play basketball, for not teaching me about how to treat a woman, about not being there when I took my first steps. I forgave him. Now, there were times before I truly forgave him. There was times before then that I said that I forgave him, but I still had these feelings or whatever in my heart, which meant I truly didn't forgive him. But when I really got to that place, that point of forgiving him, forgiving my father for not being there, things started making a difference for me in my life. Healing starts with forgiveness. Now, before I got to the point of forgiving him, I had to forgive myself. And that was the hardest thing for me to do, was to forgive myself, because for whatever reason, I felt like I was the reason why he was not involved in my life. Growing up, my mom never said anything negative about my father. As a child, I don't even remember us talking about my father. It wasn't until a couple of years ago when I found out through one of my father's relatives, well, my relative as well, that my father said that I was not his son. And when I got to my mom's house, she could tell that something was wrong. And I told her what I heard. And she said, I feel sorry for him. She said, if he don't think that, why doesn't he do a blood test to prove that I am his son? And at that point in my life, I had already forgiven my father. But when I heard that, it still hurt. It still bothered me, but not like it did many times before. It was a different type of feeling this time. It was a different type of hurt. But because God got me to a place of true forgiveness, I was in a much better place. My last guest I had on, Ronald Calhoun, my last guest that I had on last week, in his podcast, he made this, he said this quote. Well, it is a quote from him. He said he felt a certain way about his dad about things he did or did not do, because he was looking at his father through his mother's eyes. And that clip from that podcast, when I last looked at it, in 3 days, that clip had over 109,000 views from that clip. And that statement that he made about seeing his father through his mother's eyes was what caught a lot of people's attention, a lot of men attention, and which said a lot, that a lot of men are holding things that we're not talking about a lot. When I saw that amount of views. And when I looked at the analytics and saw that it was 97.7% were men. And the comments that were left, the comments that were made, the majority of the comments, when I say majority, probably over 96% of the comments were very positive comments. And it showed the importance of having your father in your life. And looking at some of the comments, was a couple of them said I had both parents in the house. And one of my comments was that was a blessing, to be able to have both parents. Some of them, their fathers died at an early age and they missed their fathers. They didn't have more time to spend with them. And one of my comments was, I never had a chance to experience that. So seeing all of those comments from different men and how they felt about their father, and there were a couple on there of comments where I saw one comment where this guy said his father was horrible. He was a terrible person. And you're going to have that from different people, whether it was your mom, whether it was your father. In my case, it was my father that was not involved in my life. And I was doing myself more harm by feeling the way that I was feeling towards him because of those feelings. And I, for a long time, felt like that justified it. Well, God knows what he put me through. God knows how I feel. And I felt like God was going to excuse that. And I had an uncle, one of my uncles, when he saw one of my podcast episodes, somebody told him about it. I think it was the first one that I did when I was, I read the letter that I wrote my father. I wrote my father a letter about 4 or 5 years ago, and I sent it to his church. I don't know if he got the letter, but I felt better because I did that, because I wrote the letter, I mailed it, and in my heart, I know that he read it. And I didn't get a response from it. And when my uncle found that out, he called me. And one of his first comments was, don't let that man cause you to go to hell. Meaning, don't be having hard feelings towards your father because he wasn't involved in your life, and you allowing that to mess up your relationship or destroy your relationship that you have with God. And I understood what he meant as soon as he said it, because those years of my life that I had all these negative feelings towards my father, I felt like I was justified. But it was only by God's grace and God's mercy that I didn't die in that state. I didn't die with that hate, that anger, the strife, the unforgiveness, wishing ill will on him. I thank God that I'm still living. I thank God that he did not cut me off, especially with those feelings and feeling the way that I was feeling in regards to my father. So when I was reading some more of those comments, it just got me to thinking about, man, how great it is, or how great it could have been to have a father, to be able to talk to him about things, to be able to discuss things. And there were some comments in there in regards to the moms, like moms was doing their thing, making us think a certain way about the father. Some of the comments were, I won't say negative towards the mom, but there was a couple of them that was negative toward the moms. And it felt like the mom was trying to turn the son against the father. And that does happen. You have mothers that will turn or try to turn the son away from, or the child away from the father. You have fathers that will do the same thing. But then you have to ask yourself, do you know all sides of the story? The mother, the father, do you know those sides of the story to understand where they may be coming from? Why did mom feel the way that she was feeling? Why did mom do the things that she did? Why did dad do what he did? I had questions in regards to my father. Why did he not want to be involved in my life? Why he didn't want to see me? And as an adult, I remember 3 separate times as an adult, I reached out to my father. I did different things to try to get in touch with my father. And he basically turned his back. He was like, no, that's not going to happen. So some people were like, well, why don't you continue to try it? Nah. The most important thing was I can't change him. I can only worry about me. And I prayed and asked God to get me to a place to where I was good with him. I was good with God. I was good in God's eye. Because our time that we spend here on earth is going to be nothing compared to where we will spend eternity. And I did not want how I was feeling about my father to determine where I'm going to spend eternity. So that's why I had to and I wanted to forgive my father. I pray for my father at times when he comes across my mind. I pray for him. Would I still love to talk to him? Yes, I would. I had a desire to talk to him, a desire to meet him. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. If it does, that will be great. There's nothing my father could say to me that could justify why he wasn't there. And that's not a bad thing. Would I give him an opportunity if he wanted to talk and to share the reason why? Of course I would. I would sit, I would listen. If it was up to me, I don't even think I would ask him why or like what happened or why wasn't you there? Because I want to talk about, like, get to know him. Like, tell me something about you. Your likes, your dislikes. Did you play sports? All of those things. I would want to know what type of health issues do you have? Because I've had some health issues coming up, and they ask, did this run in your family? What about your father? What about your mom? I couldn't answer from my father's standpoint because I didn't know. We've never talked. We never met. So things like that, I didn't know. I would love to, just to have a conversation with him. And when I say things or bring things up about my father, people think, well, you hadn't forgiven him. Why? Because I'm talking about him? Because I bring his name up? How does that equate to me not forgiving him because I bring it up? And on the podcast, that's what the podcast is about. It is about Black men who grew up without a father. And it's based off of my life. It's based off of what I went through, the things that I've dealt with, the things that I deal with. It has paid off in a major way, especially with me being an educator and being in school. And I see these young boys, these young men, I see myself in them at that age. And in my conversation, when I do talk to them, that is one of the questions. Who do you stay with? Oh, I live with my mom. What about your dad? Just your mom? Yeah, it's just my mom. And a lot of times it is the young man in a single parent home where the mom is raising him. And a few months ago, I was just so into talking about my dad, and I never really thought about until a few months ago. I never really thought about how my mom felt about all of this, how my mom must have felt about whatever happened And my father made a decision not to be involved in my life, or a decision was made. However, that decision was made, I never thought about my mom's feeling. And I want to say my mom was 19 years old when I was born. So not even she's still young, still I wouldn't say a baby, but still young, not quite an adult. So imagining what she went through emotionally about all of it. And for her to not have never said anything negative about my father. I never heard her mention anything about child support from my father, any of that. If she did, I don't remember it. And I think I have a pretty good memory, but I don't remember her ever doing or saying anything like that. And I thank God that my grandparents, my grandfather and my grandmother, played a major role in helping my mom raise me and my two younger brothers. And I look at this is something that's been on my mind a little, and this could probably be a whole different video topic. When you're looking at it, things spiritually, for those of you that are believers, Satan's job is he want to get us distracted off of our relationship with God through his son, Jesus Christ. He wanted to get us distracted. And this is something God placed in my spirit for the past couple of weeks. There's so many people that are in situations like mine, with a parent not being there, and the feelings that come out of that, where there's the bad feelings that come out of it. And all of that could be a part of a tactic that the enemy uses in order to keep us not focused on our relationship with God. There's a scripture that says, "Seek ye the kingdom of heaven first, and all of its righteousness, and all other things will be added unto you." Seek the kingdom of heaven first, and all other things will be added unto you. So if we were to focus on that, if we were to focus on seeking the kingdom and all of its righteousness, focus on our relationship with God, getting into the word, rightly dividing and meditating, studying, meditating, memorizing, and learning his word, so we can hide his word in our heart that we won't sin against him. Wanted to be in a deeper relationship with him. If we were to focus on seeking the kingdom, God said he'll add all this other stuff according to his will. He will add those things. But when we get to, and I'm talking about myself because I am doing better, or trying to do better at doing that, at focusing on God's word, seeking him, having a desire to want to read, study, rightly divide, meditate, and memorize his word, because I want to have a better relationship with him. And because I was doing that to some extent, not like I want to, he has gotten me to this place of forgiveness, forgiving my father, also forgiving myself, because I had a hard time forgiving myself about this whole situation. It was sometimes that I felt like I did not even deserve God's forgiveness because of my relationship, or the relationship I didn't have with my father. I didn't feel like I was good enough. I didn't feel like I deserved it. So in that area, it affected me in that area. I allowed it to affect me in that area, not even realizing that's what I was doing. So if we focus on, for those of us that have a relationship with God, if we focus on our relationship with him and allowing God to do his work within us, for us, I believe that we'll be in a much better place. And I am a witness of that. When I got to the point of truly forgiving my father, things started to change for me in my life. I started feeling better about myself. When you got those feelings and against your father, against your mama, against anybody, when you have those feelings, it's not, the only person that's harming is you. For whatever reason, whether you think it's justified or not, for whatever reason, you're holding on to those feelings, you're allowing those feelings to rule you, to dominate your mind, to occupy space and time in your mind. It's only hurting you. And if you're a believer, it's going to have some effect on your relationship with God. So I want to encourage you to seek the kingdom of heaven first and all of its righteousness, and allow God to take care of everything else according to his will. And I'm saying according to his will because there are some things that we want that may not be a part of God's will for our life. Will he give it to us? Yeah, if we keep praying for it enough, okay, you want it? Let me give this to you. And it may not be what he has for you. But once we line up with the will of God for our lives, surrendering that to God, surrendering to Lord, here I am. Use me for your will. Order my steps in your word. Lead me, guide me. I'm here for you. Once we get to that point, there's a peace that I got. There's a peace that I have that whenever situation comes up about my father or things that I may see, I had that peace that God gave me because I surrendered to him. I surrendered and like, you know what, Lord, I can't even do this no more. I need you. You know my heart. You know what's in my mind. Whatever's that's within me that's not of you or your word, please remove it from me because I don't want that there. Create in me a clean heart. Renew in me a right spirit, a spirit that wants to love, honor, and glorify you. We can't get caught up into the worldly things. And I was caught up into my father not being involved in my life. I was caught up so deep into that I believe had I died during that time when I was feeling the way that I was feeling, hell would have been my home for eternity. And I thank God so much for his grace and mercy and giving me another chance and giving me understanding and forgiveness in my heart to forgive my father. And I have forgiven him. I love my father. I never met him. I pray for him at times when he run across my mind. I still would love the opportunity to meet him. And for you, if you have those feelings towards your father or your mother or towards anyone else, ask God to help change that. It's not worth it. It's not worth you having those feelings in your heart about anybody. That's hurting you. If you are a believer, that's hurting your relationship with God. Having those hard feelings in your heart. It's not doing anything good for you, whether you think so or not. You may say, well, you don't know what he did to me. And I don't know what he did. I don't know what she did or what he didn't do or what she didn't do. But ask yourself this question. Is it worth it? Is it worth you risking eternity based off of them doing or not doing something that's causing you to have hard feelings towards them? And I've heard some people say, yes, it's worth risking. And if you say, yes, it's worth risking, I pray for you. I pray that God touches and changes your heart, soften your heart. Wherever that hurt is coming from, I pray that God heals you from that God deliver you from that. I had to be delivered from all that hate and pain and all that other stuff that I had towards my father because he wasn't involved, because he made a choice not to be involved. All right. If you got any value from this, subscribe to the channel, be notified whenever the next episode come out. And please share it with someone that you think it could help out. Take care. God bless. And if God spare my life, I'll check you out on the next episode of Making Life More Better podcast. All right. Have a good one.